Hi everybody, welcome to Todd's Kitchen. Now first of all, right off the bat, I want to say this. I'm not a chef, I'm a cook. I cook for our family, I cook for friends. But the thing I like to do is cook things that I've never cooked before. This one I have actually never eaten before, which is kind of cool. And I'll show you a little more later, but here it is. It's beef shank. Now, where does the beef shank come from? I'll tell you that in a second. First of all, there's going to be some options here, and there's going to be something at some point you go, hey, wait a minute. You'll see what I mean. All right, so beef shank. All right, the beef shank actually comes from the femur bone. So think about from the knee up to your hip, and they do cross sections, and that's why you get the femur bone, but more importantly, you get the marrow. Now, the marrow is mostly fat. But the fact of what it's going to do to the rest of the meat, they say is incredible. Did I mention pot roast on steroids? This is where it comes from. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to brown both sides, just like you do with a pot roast. That might be a little hint. And the reason you brown meat is because if you eat a piece of bread, it's good. But if you toast it, it's even better. And it has more flavor, and that's what we're going to do. While you're browning, you're going to have to keep your fan on. And you're going to have to clean up your stove quite a bit, because there's a little bit of splattering. All right, wait a minute, Todd. Are you trying to pull a fast one on us? Because this, the celery, the garlic, which is cut actually just on the bottom. You got carrots, onions, and bay leaves. This looks exactly like my pot roast recipe. And I'll say, well, you're kind of right. This is my first time making it. It looks exactly like my pot roast recipe. But right now, what I'm going to do is I am going to go put it in the pans I just browned the meat in, soften these up, and maybe add a little vino. Now you have a decision to make. I made this decision on the last 4 or 5 pot roasts that I make, and that is if you are going to add any red wine. Now this is a dry white Cabernet Sauvignon. I'm going to use fancy words in this section. I'm going to deglaze the pans, and I'm just going to use a little bit. I'd probably use half a cup in each of these pans, so a full cup in a regular pot roast. But the reason I'm going to go light on it is because this is supposed to taste, shanks are supposed to taste unbelievable, and I don't want to mask them too much. So we're going to let that just cook down a little bit more, and then we're going to set up our pan, put it in the oven for 3+ hours, and heaven should be waiting for us. All right, first, fill in the rest of the vegetables. If you notice, I left the cloves whole and just cut the bottoms off them. Why? Because they told me to. They have so many different recipes. They have one where you actually dredge the meat in flour before you put it in, which I'm thinking the flour would thicken the gravy because it would act kind of like a thickener or a roux on that. But now, you're going to take your broth and you're just going to barely cover it. And if you don't have broth, you can use water. Don't have to add salt, we already did that. How close are we? Is that close enough? I think that's close enough. Here's the new thing that I've never done before. Parchment paper. Now I know a lot of you bakers use this a lot. And you're supposed to put this just on top of the meat, like that. And then I'm going to cover this whole thing with tin foil. Middle shelf, 350 degrees, I'm going to check it in about 3 hours. You can go like 3.5 hours, I think, is what this is going to end up to be. So to the oven. And now time for the unveiling. Tin foil is off. Parchment paper is off. Wow. That really looks actually really good. And there it is, beef shank with mashed potatoes. There's only one thing missing. Air and I food.
What?
Okay.
I'm here.
Okay. Go ahead and try it.